The dining hall of the Interstellar Unity Station sparkled with lights from 1,000 different worlds. Ambassador Dae-hyun sat at the long table, surrounded by creatures that would have seemed impossible just 5 years ago. To his left sat a being covered in blue scales. To his right, an insect-like diplomat clicked its mandibles while eating something that glowed faintly purple. Dae-hyun had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Coalition for 2 years now. He still remembered his first day here, how overwhelming it all felt. Now these strange beings were his colleagues. Some were even his friends. The annual summit was always held on the station. Leaders from 40 different species came to discuss trade, borders, and conflicts. Humanity was still new to all of this. Most aliens saw humans as curious but unremarkable. They didn't know much about Earth or its people. Tonight's dinner was supposed to be casual, a chance for diplomats to relax before tomorrow's serious meetings. But Veltrix, the Vexarian ambassador, had been drinking something strong. He was getting louder with each glass. "Speed is everything," Veltrix announced, his multiple eyes gleaming. "My people are the fastest predators in the known galaxy. We can run down any prey in seconds." Several other diplomats nodded. The reptilian Ralmon added, "My species also values speed. A hunt that lasts more than 2 minutes is considered a failure." Dae-hyun took a sip of his water. He had heard this kind of talk before. Many species in the galaxy were proud of their physical abilities. The Vexarians could indeed sprint faster than almost anything. He had seen recordings. They moved like lightning across the ground. "What about humans?" asked a small, furry diplomat from across the table. "How do your people hunt?" The table grew quieter. Most of the aliens were curious about Earth's predators and prey. They had seen Earth's wildlife catalogs: lions, cheetahs, wolves. But they didn't know much about humans themselves. Dae-hyun smiled. "We're persistence hunters." Veltrix's antennae twitched. "Persistence hunters? What does that mean?" "It means we chase our prey until it can't run anymore," Dae-hyun explained. "Sometimes for hours, sometimes for an entire day." The table erupted in confused chatter. Several aliens looked at each other, their translators working overtime to make sure they had understood correctly. "That's impossible," Veltrix said flatly. "Prey either escapes in the first minute or it dies. There is no in-between." "For most species, yes," Dae-hyun agreed. "But humans are different. Our ancestors on Earth would pick an animal, usually something like a deer or antelope, and just follow it. The animal would run away fast, very fast, but we would keep jogging after it. When it stopped to rest, we would appear again. It would run again. We would follow again." "But why wouldn't the prey simply disappear?" asked Ralmon, genuinely puzzled. "Because we could track it," Dae-hyun said. "Footprints, broken branches, scent. And because we didn't need to rest as much as the prey did. Eventually, after hours of running, the animal would be so exhausted it would just collapse. Then we would walk up to it and make the kill." Veltrix made a sound like harsh laughter. "You're saying humans would chase prey for hours while running?" "Jogging, mostly," Dae-hyun corrected. "We're not the fastest species, but we can keep going. Our bodies are built for it." "I don't believe it," Veltrix said. "No predator hunts like that. It's inefficient, it's absurd." Dae-hyun shrugged. He wasn't offended. He understood why it seemed strange. Most predators in the galaxy relied on ambush tactics or explosive speed. The idea of a slow, relentless chase was foreign to them. A human security officer named Jiwoo stood near the wall. She caught Dae-hyun's eye and gave a small smile. She had been a soldier before joining diplomatic security. She knew exactly what the human body could do. "Perhaps a demonstration," suggested Ralmon. His voice was careful, diplomatic. "If the ambassador is willing, of course. The station has biodome facilities. We could simulate a hunt." Veltrix sat up straighter. "Yes, a wager. I will show you what real hunting looks like. My species against yours, Ambassador." Dae-hyun considered this. He was in his mid-40s now, but he had run marathons well into his 30s. He still jogged every morning in the station's recreation areas. But this wasn't about pride. This was an opportunity. What would we be hunting? He asked. A holographic simulation, Ralmon explained. The station's biodome can create a prey animal that moves realistically. It runs when pursued, tries to escape. The first one to catch it wins. And the course? Daehyun asked. 10 kilometers through varied terrain, Ralmon said. Hills, flat areas, obstacles, a fair test. Daehyun looked at Jiwoo again. She gave a slight nod. She knew he could do this. I accept, Daehyun said. Veltrix's mandibles clicked excitedly. Excellent. Tomorrow morning, I will show everyone why the Vexarians are apex predators. The other diplomats began talking among themselves. Some seemed excited. Others looked confused. A few pulled out their communication devices, probably alerting their governments that something interesting was about to happen. As the dinner continued, a human biologist named Hana approached Daehyun's table. She worked in the station's research division. Ambassador, are you sure about this? She asked quietly. Veltrix is fast. I've seen the data on Vexarians. They can hit speeds that would kill a human. For how long? Daehyun asked. Hana paused. Well, about 30 to 40 seconds at maximum speed. Then they need to rest. And how long can I run? Daehyun asked with a smile. Hana smiled back. Point taken. I'll be in the observation room tomorrow. This should be educational for everyone. That night, Daehyun returned to his quarters. He stretched carefully, preparing his muscles. He drank extra water. He set out his running clothes, simple athletic gear that would handle sweat well. Jiwoo came by to check on him. The betting pools are going crazy, she said. Most aliens are putting money on Veltrix. Smart money, Daehyun said. But not all of it, Jiwoo continued. Some of the aliens have been researching humans. They found records of ultramarathons, people running for 24 hours straight. They're starting to wonder. Good, Daehyun said. Let them wonder. He looked out his window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. He thought about his ancestors, running across the African savanna under the brutal sun. They didn't have speed or claws or armor. They just had determination and the ability to keep moving. Tomorrow he would show the galaxy what that meant. The hunt would begin at dawn, station time. And Daehyun was ready. The biodome stretched out like a small world under artificial sunlight. Daehyun stood at the starting line wearing simple running clothes. He bounced lightly on his feet, warming up his muscles. Beside him, Veltrix looked like a coiled spring ready to explode. The Vexarian was impressive up close. His body was built for speed, with powerful legs that looked like they could launch him like a rocket. His exoskeleton gleamed under the lights. Several of his eyes focused on the course ahead while others watched Daehyun. Around them, the biodome's terrain varied wildly. There were hills covered in synthetic grass, flat stretches of hard-packed dirt, areas with obstacles like fallen logs and rocks. The course markers glowed softly, showing the 10-kilometer path they would follow. In the observation room above, hundreds of aliens had gathered to watch. Jiwoo stood at the control panel, checking the holographic prey systems. Hana was beside her, monitoring equipment that would track both runners' vital signs. Ralmon stood between the two competitors, acting as the official judge. His reptilian features remained neutral, but his eyes showed interest. The rules are simple, Ralmon announced, his voice carried by speakers throughout the biodome. A holographic prey animal will be released. It is programmed to run and evade like a real creature. The first hunter to catch it wins. There are water stations along the course. You may use them as needed. Daehyun nodded. He had studied the course earlier. 10 kilometers was about 6 miles. He usually ran that distance in under an hour during his morning jogs. But this wasn't a jog. This was a hunt. Hunters, are you ready? Ralmon asked. Ready, Veltrix said. His voice carried absolute confidence. Ready, Daehyun agreed. Begin. The holographic prey materialized 50 meters ahead. It looked like a deer-like creature with 4 legs and glowing blue patterns. The moment it sensed the hunters, it bolted. Veltrix exploded forward. Daehyun had never seen anything move so fast on legs. The Vexarian became a blur, his multiple limbs pumping with incredible power. He covered the first 50 meters in under 3 seconds. The sound of his feet hitting the ground was like rapid drum beats. Dae-hyun started jogging. In the observation room, several aliens began laughing. On the screens showing both runners, the difference was absurd. Veltrix looked like lightning. Dae-hyun looked like he was out for a casual morning run. "The human is already lost," one alien said. "Look at the speed difference," another added. "This is embarrassing." Jiwoo smiled but said nothing. She watched the monitors carefully. Hana began speaking into a recording device, providing commentary. "Human physiology is optimized for endurance, not speed. Notice Ambassador Dae-hyun's steady pace. His breathing is controlled. His stride is efficient. He's not trying to win a sprint. He's pacing himself for the long run." On the course, Veltrix closed the gap to the holographic prey rapidly. The creature ran at speeds that would exhaust most animals quickly, but Veltrix kept up easily. He was almost within striking distance. Then something changed. Veltrix's breathing became labored. His speed dropped slightly. The holographic prey sensed this and put on a burst of speed, maintaining the distance between them. Dae-hyun kept jogging at the same steady pace. His breathing remained even. Sweat began to form on his skin, glistening in the artificial sunlight. "Notice the human's cooling system." Hana continued her commentary. "Human sweat. This is rare among galactic species. It allows continuous heat regulation during extended physical activity." 20 seconds into the hunt, Veltrix was still incredibly fast, but his movements were becoming slightly erratic. His breathing was harsh, audible even over the distance. 30 seconds in, Veltrix began to slow noticeably. The aliens in the observation room grew quieter. This wasn't what they expected. Dae-hyun maintained his pace. He had found his rhythm now. His feet hit the ground in a steady pattern. His arms swung naturally. This was what his body was made for. Not explosive speed, but reliable, constant motion. At 40 seconds, Veltrix stumbled. The Vexarian caught himself, but his speed had dropped dramatically. His breathing sounded painful. His legs trembled with each step. Dae-hyun passed the first kilometer marker. His heart rate was elevated but stable. His body temperature was rising, but his sweat glands were working efficiently, carrying heat away from his core. "What's happening to Veltrix?" an alien in the observation room asked. Hana checked her monitors. "His internal temperature is spiking." Vexarians, like most species, lack an efficient cooling system. They can generate enormous power for short bursts, but their bodies overheat rapidly. His muscles are also producing lactic acid faster than his system can clear it. On the course, Veltrix reached a water station. He stopped, his entire body heaving. He drank desperately, water spilling from his mandibles. The holographic prey continued running, disappearing around a hill. Dae-hyun jogged past the same water station. He grabbed a water bottle without stopping, drank some while running, and poured the rest over his head. The water mixed with his sweat, cooling him further. "Impossible," Veltrix gasped. He was bent over, trying to catch his breath. His legs felt like they were on fire. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest. He watched Dae-hyun disappear around the hill, moving at that same steady, unrelenting pace. In the observation room, the mood had completely changed. The aliens weren't laughing anymore. They watched in silence as Dae-hyun's marker on the tracking screen continued moving forward at a constant speed. Veltrix tried to start running again. He managed a few steps, but his legs buckled. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. "Medical team to the biodome," Ralmon said calmly into his communicator. "Veltrix requires assistance." 2 medical personnel rushed into the biodome with a floating stretcher. Veltrix tried to wave them away, but his pride couldn't overcome his body's collapse. His core temperature had reached dangerous levels. His muscles were seizing from exhaustion. "I don't understand," Veltrix managed to say as they lifted him onto the stretcher. "He's so slow. How is he still running?" One of the medical staff, an alien doctor, checked Veltrix's vital signs and shook her head in amazement. "The human isn't slow. You were fast. There's a difference." They carried Veltrix out of the biodome and toward the medical bay. As they passed through the doors, he looked at the monitors showing Dae-hyun's progress. The human had just passed the 2-kilometer mark. His pace hadn't changed at all. He looked like he could run forever. On the course, Dae-hyun was focused on his breathing and his form. He had seen Veltrix collapse, but he didn't stop. The hunt wasn't over until the prey was caught. That was the rule his ancestors understood. That was what persistence meant. The holographic prey was far ahead now, but Dae-hyun could see it occasionally when the course curved. It was programmed to act like a real animal, running fast and then resting, but every time it rested, Dae-hyun got a little closer. He passed the 3-kilometer marker. His shirt was soaked with sweat. His breathing was heavier now, but still controlled. His legs felt good. He could do this for hours if he needed to. In the observation room, the aliens watched in growing disbelief. Some were pulling up information on their devices, researching human endurance. What they found shocked them. Humans ran marathons, 42 kilometers, for fun. Some humans ran ultramarathons, 100 kilometers or more. There were records of humans running for 24 hours straight. The galaxy was learning something new about Earth's representatives. And it was terrifying. The medical bay hummed with activity. Veltrix lay on a specialized bed, his body wrapped in cooling blankets. Dr. Kira, a skilled physician from a species known for their medical expertise, monitored the screens showing his vital signs. "Your core temperature reached critical levels," Dr. Kira said, her 4 hands working different controls. "Another minute and you would have suffered permanent damage." Veltrix's eyes were dim with exhaustion. "I was so sure. My people are the fastest in the galaxy. How did I lose to someone so slow?" A screen on the wall showed the biodome. Dae-hyun was still running. The timestamp showed 22 minutes had passed. The human showed no signs of stopping. "Speed and endurance are different things," Dr. Kira said. She pulled up a comparison chart on her tablet. "Look at this. Your species can reach speeds of 90 kilometers per hour. Humans can barely reach 40 kilometers per hour at their fastest sprint." "Then I should have won," Veltrix said weakly. "But you can only maintain that speed for 30 to 40 seconds, Dr. Kira continued. "Humans can maintain their running pace for hours, days even. Their bodies are completely different from ours." She brought up a detailed scan of human physiology. Humans have over 2 million sweat glands covering their body. When they exercise, these glands produce moisture that evaporates and cools them. Most species, including yours, lack this system. Veltrix watched the screen as Dae-hyun passed the 5-kilometer marker. The human's pace hadn't changed at all. "Their muscles are different too," Dr. Kira explained. "They have a mix of fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. The slow twitch fibers are designed for endurance. They can work for extended periods without fatigue. But the pain," Veltrix said. "Running that long must be agony." "Their brains are adapted for it," Dr. Kira said. "Humans can produce chemicals called endorphins that reduce pain during extended exercise. Their minds are literally built to ignore discomfort and keep moving." In the observation room, Hana was providing similar explanations to the gathered diplomats. A young human diplomat named Tai Yang stood beside her, watching with obvious pride. "The human body is a marvel of endurance engineering," Hana said, displaying various diagrams. "Our tendons act like springs, storing and releasing kinetic energy with each step. This makes our running incredibly efficient." She pulled up another image. "Our inner ear has 3 semicircular canals that give us exceptional balance. This allows us to run on uneven terrain without falling. And our ability to breathe independently of our stride means we can regulate oxygen intake precisely." An alien diplomat with multiple tentacles raised one appendage. "But surely there must be limits. How long can humans run?" "The current Earth record for continuous running is over 700 kilometers, Taeyang said. That's approximately 435 miles. The runner took about 5 days." The room fell silent. Several aliens checked their translators, certain they had misunderstood. "That's impossible," someone said. "It's documented fact," Taeyang replied. "And that's not even considering historical persistence hunts. Human ancestors would chase prey across entire continents. The prey would run until its body literally shut down from exhaustion." On the biodome course, Dae-hyun had settled into a meditative state. His mind was quiet. His body was simply doing what it was designed to do, one foot in front of the other. Breathe in, breathe out, keep moving. The holographic prey was tiring. Its programming simulated realistic fatigue. It had been designed, to outrun any known predator, but it hadn't been programmed for something that never stopped chasing. Daehyun could see it more frequently now. The creature's sprints were shorter, its rest periods were longer. It was following the pattern of every prey animal in nature, exhaust itself in bursts of speed, then collapse. He passed a water station and grabbed another bottle. His technique was smooth now. He barely broke stride. The water cooled his throat and he poured the rest over his neck. 28 minutes, Jiwoo announced in the observation room. He's passed 6 kilometers. Heart rate is elevated, but stable. Body temperature is well within safe ranges. Hana pulled up Daehyun's vital signs on the main screen. Notice that his heart rate, while elevated, has actually stabilized. His body has entered a steady state. He could maintain this for hours. Hours? An alien asked in disbelief. Humans evolved in an environment where persistence was survival, Hana explained. On Earth's African plains, prey animals were faster than humans, but they couldn't handle heat as well. Humans would hunt during the hottest parts of the day when other predators rested. They would simply follow their prey until it collapsed from heat exhaustion. Ralman, the reptilian diplomat, had been quiet during most of this. Now he spoke, his voice thoughtful. This has military implications. The room's atmosphere changed. Several diplomats looked at each other uneasily. If humans can outlast any species in sustained activity, Ralman continued, then their soldiers would have a significant advantage in prolonged conflicts. Ground campaigns, extended sieges, wars of attrition. We're diplomats, Taeyang said quickly, not conquerors. Of course, Ralman said. But these are facts that military strategists across the galaxy will want to know. On the course, Daehyun was closing in on the 7-kilometer mark. The holographic prey was visible just ahead, its movement sluggish. In nature, this would be when the predator moved in for the kill, but Daehyun maintained his pace. The simulation required him to actually catch the prey, to touch it. He couldn't rush now and risk his own exhaustion. In the medical bay, Veltrix watched the feed with something like horror in his eyes. Your species doesn't just hunt prey, he said to Dr. Kira. You haunt them. You appear again and again, never stopping, until they have nothing left. Dr. Kira didn't respond. She was reviewing human historical records that had been uploaded to the station's database. Forced marches of 50 kilometers in a day, soldiers fighting effectively after 3 days without sleep, marathon runners who barely seemed tired after running for hours. We've made a mistake, Veltrix said quietly. The galaxy has made a mistake about humans. What do you mean? Dr. Kira asked. We thought they were unremarkable because they're not the strongest or fastest, Veltrix said. But that's not what makes a predator dangerous. What makes a predator dangerous is knowing that it will never ever stop hunting you. On the screen, Daehyun passed the 8-kilometer marker. His form was still good, his breathing was still controlled. The holographic prey was now barely able to run. 38 minutes into the hunt, the outcome was no longer in doubt. The only question was how much farther Daehyun could have gone if he needed to. In the observation room, aliens from dozens of species watched in silence. They were witnessing something that challenged their understanding of predation, of physical capability, of what it meant to be dangerous. They were watching humanity's greatest evolutionary advantage on display. They were watching a persistence hunter doing what persistence hunters do best, never stopping, never giving up. Just moving forward, one step at a time, until the prey had nothing left to give. The holographic prey stumbled. Its legs trembled with exhaustion. It tried to run one more time but managed only a few weak steps before collapsing onto the synthetic grass. Daehyun jogged up to it and placed his hand on the flickering image. The simulation registered the touch and the prey dissolved into particles of light. Hunt complete, Ralman's voice echoed across the biodome. Time 43 minutes 18 seconds. Distance 10 kilometers. Winner, Ambassador Daehyun of Earth. In the observation room there was no applause. The alien simply stared at the screens in stunned silence. Daehyun walked to the nearest water station. He drank slowly, letting his heart rate come down gradually. He stretched his legs, working out the tension in his muscles. His shirt was soaked through with sweat, but he felt good. Tired, but good. Jiwoo's voice came through his earpiece. How are you feeling, Ambassador? Fine, Daehyun said. Ready for the morning briefings. There was a pause. You want to go straight to work? Why not? Daehyun said. I used to run 10 kilometers every morning before work anyway. In the observation room, the aliens who heard this exchange through the speakers looked at each other with expressions of disbelief. He considers this a normal morning routine, one alien said. Impossible, another replied, but the data didn't lie. Daehyun's vital signs showed he was recovering quickly. His heart rate was already dropping toward normal levels. His body temperature was regulating itself through continued sweating. Taeyang pulled up additional information on the main screen. For context, human recreational runners often participate in events called marathons. These are races of approximately 42 kilometers. Thousands of humans do this regularly. 42 kilometers? An alien gasped. And there are longer races, Taeyang continued. Ultramarathons can be 100 kilometers or more. Some events last for 24 hours or multiple days. The aliens processed this information. Their military attachés were already making notes, sending urgent messages back to their homeworlds. Ralmon stood and addressed the room. I believe we need to schedule an emergency session with the Coalition Council. This demonstration has revealed significant information about human capabilities. Daehyun returned to his quarters to shower and change. When he emerged in fresh diplomatic attire, he found Jiwoo waiting with a concerned expression. The whole station is talking, she said. Military officials from a dozen species are requesting meetings. They want to know more about human endurance capabilities. That was going to happen eventually, Daehyun said. Better they learn through a controlled demonstration than through assumptions and fear. Some of them are afraid, Jiwoo admitted. Ralmon mentioned military implications. Others are thinking the same thing. Before Daehyun could respond, his communication device chimed. It was a priority message. Admiral Bongsu would be arriving at the station in 2 hours for a scheduled military exchange program. Perfect timing, Daehyun said dryly. Admiral Bongsu was a veteran of Earth's military forces. His arrival had been planned for weeks as part of a cultural and military exchange program with the Coalition. But now, after the demonstration, his visit would be seen in a different light. In a secure conference room, a human intelligence officer named So-min was compiling reports. She monitored communication channels and watched as alien governments reacted to the biodome demonstration. The reactions ranged from fascination to concern to outright alarm. Several species were reviewing their defense strategies. Others were requesting more information about human military capabilities. A few were proposing immediate diplomatic initiatives to strengthen ties with Earth. So-min's report made one thing clear. The galaxy's perception of humanity had fundamentally shifted in the span of 43 minutes. When Admiral Bongsu arrived at the station, he was greeted by a much larger delegation than expected. Diplomats and military officials from multiple species waited to meet him. The admiral was a compact man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had spent 30 years in service before taking on this diplomatic military role. He was used to attention, but this felt different. Admiral, Ralmon said formally, welcome to the station. Perhaps we could speak privately? They moved to a conference room. Ralmon didn't waste time. Your ambassador Daehyun participated in a demonstration today. He displayed remarkable endurance capabilities. Daehyun was a marathon runner before joining diplomatic service, Bongsu said. Many humans run for recreation. We are beginning to understand that, Ralmon said carefully. I am here representing several species with a question. What are the endurance capabilities of human military personnel? Bongsu considered his response. Our basic training includes regular running, usually 5 to 10 kilometers daily. Forced marches with full equipment can be 30 kilometers or more. Ralmon's scales seemed to pale slightly. 30 kilometers. With equipment. Standard military packs weigh about 25 kilograms, Bongsu continued, sometimes more. Soldiers are expected to march this distance and then be ready for combat operations. And how long does such a march take? About 6 to 8 hours depending on terrain, Bongsu said. But soldiers can operate effectively for much longer if needed. 3 days with minimal sleep is considered manageable. Ralmon was quiet for a long moment. Admiral, do you understand how this sounds to species like mine? Most of our soldiers would be completely exhausted after a 10-kilometer march with equipment. The idea of 30 kilometers followed by combat operations is beyond our physical capability. Bong-su nodded slowly. I'm beginning to understand the concern. But you must understand, humans aren't trying to intimidate anyone. This is simply how our bodies work. We evolved this way. I know, Ralmon said, but evolution has given humans a capability that most species lack. In warfare, endurance is everything. Supply lines, troop movements, sustained campaigns. If human soldiers can outlast any opponent, that's a strategic advantage that cannot be ignored. Word of these discussions spread quickly. By evening, the Coalition Council had called an emergency session. Dae-hyun was asked to attend, along with Admiral Bong-su and Hana. The council chamber was filled with representatives from 40 species. Voxtil, the council head, looked like a large bird with iridescent feathers. Her species was known for wisdom and fairness. We have gathered, Voxtil said, because today's demonstration revealed information that has implications for the entire coalition. We must discuss the human endurance factor openly and honestly. Hana provided a scientific briefing. She explained human evolution, physiology, and capabilities. She showed historical data about persistence hunting, marathon running, and military campaigns. The council listened in silence. When Hana finished, Voxtil spoke again. These capabilities could make humans formidable in conflict. How does Earth intend to use this advantage? Dae-hyun stood. With the same intention we've had since joining the coalition. Peace, cooperation, and mutual prosperity. Our endurance is a tool, like any capability. It can be used for good or ill. We choose good. Words are easy, someone said from the gallery. Then judge us by our actions, Admiral Bong-su said, standing beside Dae-hyun. Earth has not started conflicts with coalition members. We've offered aid, shared technology, and worked toward common goals. Our capabilities don't change our intentions. Voxtil nodded slowly. This is true. But other species will still be concerned. They will adjust their strategies. They will view humanity differently. We understand, Dae-hyun said, and we're willing to be transparent. We'll share information about our capabilities. We'll participate in joint training programs. We'll prove through consistent action that we're partners, not threats. The council session lasted for hours, but by the end, a framework was established. Humans would participate in military exchange programs. They would share training methods. They would work to build trust through openness rather than secrecy. As Dae-hyun left the chamber, he felt exhausted. Not from the running, but from the politics. Ji-woo fell into step beside him. That went better than it could have, she said. It's just the beginning, Dae-hyun replied. The galaxy is learning what humans can do. Now we have to show them who we are. 3 days after the demonstration, Veltrix requested a private meeting with Dae-hyun. They met in a quiet garden area of the station, where plants from dozens of worlds grew under carefully controlled conditions. Veltrix looked healthier now. His movements were steady, though perhaps more careful than before. He approached Dae-hyun with visible hesitation. Ambassador, Veltrix said formally, I owe you an apology. Dae-hyun gestured to a bench designed for various body types. They both sat. You have nothing to apologize for. I was arrogant, Veltrix said. I assumed speed was everything. I dismissed your claims about persistence hunting because they didn't fit my understanding of predation. Your understanding was based on your own evolution, Dae-hyun said. That's natural. But I should have been more open-minded, Veltrix insisted. I've been reading about Earth, about your history. Do you know what frightens me most? Dae-hyun waited. It's not your endurance, Veltrix said. It's that you evolved it not from aggression but from desperation. Your ancestors weren't apex predators. They were vulnerable. They developed persistence hunting because they had to. Because giving up meant death. That's true, Dae-hyun said quietly. Humans aren't the strongest or fastest. We survived by being stubborn. Veltrix made a sound that might have been a laugh. Stubborn, yes, that's exactly the right word. You don't give up. Not when running. Not when facing challenges. Not ever. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching small flying creatures move between the flowers. What was it like? Veltrix asked. During the hunt, I mean. I collapsed after 40 seconds. You ran for 43 minutes. What does that feel like? Dae-hyun considered the question. At first, it's hard. Your body wants to stop, your muscles ache. Your lungs burn, but if you push through that initial discomfort, something changes. Your body finds its rhythm. The pain becomes distant. You enter a state where you're just moving, just breathing. Some humans call it a runner's high. And you can maintain that for hours? If necessary, Daehyun said. I wasn't even close to my limit during the demonstration. Veltrix shook his head in amazement. My people will speak of this for generations. The day a human taught us that there are different kinds of strength. In another part of the station, Hana was giving a formal presentation to coalition scientists. The room was packed with researchers from dozens of species, all eager to learn more about human physiology. A cultural attaché named In-Soo stood at the back of the room, observing. His job was to help other species understand human culture and values. After Hana's scientific presentation, it would be his turn to provide context. Hana concluded her talk with detailed scans and data. The key takeaway is that human endurance evolved as an adaptation to a specific environment and set of challenges. It's not magic. It's biology shaped by millions of years of natural selection. In-Soo stepped forward as Hana finished. Now let me talk about what endurance means to human culture, he said. Because it's not just about our bodies. It's about our psychology, our values, our way of thinking. He displayed images from Earth. Marathon runners crossing finish lines. Mountain climbers reaching summits. Explorers crossing deserts and polar regions. Humans admire persistence, In-Soo explained. We have countless sayings about never giving up. We tell stories about people who overcome impossible odds through sheer determination. We celebrate not just victory, but the struggle to achieve it. An alien scientist raised a tentacle. But why? If you could evolve better speed or strength, wouldn't that be preferable? Perhaps, In-Soo said. But we didn't get that choice. We got endurance, and we learned to value it. In human culture, the person who keeps trying despite repeated failures is often more respected than someone who succeeds easily. He showed historical images. Ancient humans tracking prey across vast distances. Early explorers crossing oceans in primitive ships. Modern athletes pushing their bodies to extreme limits. We call it going the distance, In-Soo said. It means seeing something through to the end, no matter how hard it gets. This mindset shapes everything we do. Our science, our art, our diplomacy. The presentation continued for 2 hours. By the end, the alien scientist had a much deeper understanding of humans. Not just what humans could do, but who humans were. That evening, the Coalition Council gathered again. This time, the session was more relaxed, more open. Voxtil addressed the assembly. We have spent days learning about human capabilities. We have reviewed data, heard testimonies, and consulted with experts. Now we must decide how to proceed. Realm stood. I propose a series of joint training exercises, not to prepare for conflict, but to learn from each other. Humans can teach endurance techniques. Other species can share their own strengths. We become stronger together. I support this, said a diplomat from a species known for their technological prowess. We should also collaborate on research. Human biology might provide insights for medical advances, life support systems, even space exploration. Other species added their own suggestions. Cultural exchanges, scientific collaborations, joint athletic competitions. Daehyun watched with satisfaction. Fear was transforming into curiosity. Suspicion was becoming cooperation. Admiral Bong-Soo leaned over to whisper, "You started something important with that demonstration." "I just ran," Daehyun whispered back. "You did more than that," Bong-Soo said. "You showed them who we are." Voxtil called for a vote on several proposals. Overwhelmingly, the Council approved measures to increase human integration and cooperation with the Coalition. After the session, Daehyun and Veltrix found themselves in the station's observation lounge. Through the massive windows, they could see Earth in the distance, a blue marble against the darkness of space. "Tell me about your homeworld," Veltrix said. "About the places where your ancestors hunted." Daehyun smiled. The African savanna. Open grasslands under a brutal sun. During the day, temperatures would reach extremes. Most predators would rest in shade, waiting for cooler evening temperatures. But not humans, Veltrix said. "Not humans," Daehyun agreed. "Our ancestors hunted during the hottest parts of the day. They would track an animal, usually something like an antelope or deer. The animal would run away at top speed. But the humans would just keep walking, keep jogging. Hour after hour, the sun beating down on both hunter and prey. And eventually the prey would collapse from heat exhaustion. Its body couldn't handle the sustained effort in the heat. But humans could. Our sweat kept us cool. Our determination kept us moving. We would walk up to the exhausted animal and make the kill. Veltrix was quiet for a long moment. How did your ancestors decide to do this? To chase prey for hours instead of giving up? Daehyun looked at Earth, thinking of those ancient plains, those desperate humans trying to survive, because on the savannah giving up meant death. There were no stores, no farms, no easy food. If you wanted to eat, you had to hunt. And if you couldn't kill prey quickly like other predators, you found another way. So you learned to simply keep going, Veltrix said. No matter what. Exactly, Daehyun said. And over millions of years, that mindset became part of who we are. Your species evolved speed because it worked for you. Humans evolved persistence because it was our only option. Your species didn't become persistence hunters, Veltrix said slowly. Persistence created your species, Daehyun nodded. That was exactly right. They stood together in silence, human and alien, looking at the stars. The galaxy was vast. It contained countless species, each shaped by their own evolutionary journey. Humans were just one species among many, but they brought something unique, something valuable, the ability to keep going, to never give up, to persist. Weeks later, the Coalition formally updated its databases. In the xenobiology section for humans, a new entry appeared. Endurance capacity. Exceptional. Humans possess the ability to maintain physical activity for extended periods far exceeding most known species. This capability extends to mental and emotional persistence as well. Note: humans excel in long-term challenges and wars of attrition. Recommended strategy when dealing with humans: cooperation, not conflict. In the cultural section, another note was added. Human culture places high value on persistence and determination. Popular human saying, "It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." This philosophy influences all aspects of human behavior. The galaxy was learning, and humans, the species that never gave up, were teaching an important lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous predator isn't the fastest or strongest. Sometimes it's the one that simply refuses to stop. On the station, life continued, but the relationships had changed. Other species looked at humans with new respect. Not fear, but acknowledgement. Humans had proven themselves not through conquest or intimidation, but through a simple demonstration of what they were built to do. Keep going, keep moving, never give up. It was what made them human, and now the galaxy understood.